A U.S. warship just put a missile into an Iranian tanker. Not a warning shot, not a boarding action, an actual strike on a vessel that was operating under the Iranian flag. And the Pentagon confirmed it within hours. The Strait of Hormuz, which carries roughly a fifth of the world's traded crude oil, is now an active combat zone. American troops in the region are being told to expect retaliation. American drivers, the ones who fund the federal government every 15 days at the gas pump, are about to learn what an active combat zone does to fuel prices in real time. Today on the channel, how a tanker strike turned into a doctrine shift, what Iran's parliamentary speaker has already promised in response, why the president said Iran would be wiped off the map if a U.S. ship is hit in escort duty, and why this story does not end with the geopolitics. It ends at your local pump and at the snap cards of 42 million Americans. Let's start with the actual incident. According to U.S. Central Command, an Iranian crew launched 12 ballistic missiles, 3 cruise missiles, and 4 attack drones at the United Arab Emirates this past Monday. Most were intercepted, 1 caused a fire, and 3 injured workers at the Fujairah oil port. American forces destroyed several Iranian vessels in response and, in the most consequential move, struck a tanker carrying Iranian crude. The Iranian parliamentary speaker called it just the beginning. Tehran is now openly threatening to hit American troops if any U.S. warship enters the strait under escort orders. The president on national broadcast said in plain words that Iran would be wiped off the face of the earth if it attacks an American escort vessel. There are roughly 40,000 U.S. service members deployed across the Gulf right now. 2,000 cargo ships are sitting in queue at Hormuz waiting for the diplomatic situation to clear. The diplomatic situation is not clearing. It is hardening, and the price of every barrel of crude shipped through that choke point is now a function of how the next missile salvo lands. If this kind of analysis matters to you, the algorithm is the only way it spreads. Hit the like button and tell me in the comments whether you think the United States is now, in practice, a co-belligerent in this conflict, or whether the strike on the tanker still falls inside the rules of escort engagement. Subscribe so the next breakdown lands in your feed. Let's keep going. Now to the part that hits your wallet. Crude prices have already moved. Aviation kerosene, which trades off the same choke point flow, has more than doubled in a few months. Lufthansa cancelled 20,000 flights for the half year ahead. The largest budget carrier in America shut down overnight. Air France added a €100 surcharge on long-haul tickets. Domestic gasoline futures are pricing in a sustained spike. The Energy and Climate Intelligence Unit has already published forecasts saying that by November, food prices in Western markets will be 50% higher than they were just before the inflation wave started. Olive oil, beef, pasta, butter, milk, chocolate, and coffee are leading the charge. The poorest fifth of the population already spends almost half of their income just on basic groceries. For families with children, that figure climbs to 70%. So when the president talks about wiping a country off the map, he is also, by the same sentence, talking about what your own grocery bill is going to look like in 6 weeks. Geopolitics and the dinner table are now the same story. There is a second American story this week that is almost unrelated and yet completely related at the same time. Congress is now openly asking questions about a sitting cabinet member's connection to Jeffrey Epstein. Documents have surfaced that, according to multiple reports, place a senior administration figure on the donor side of a financial relationship that the Justice Department has been quietly working through for 2 years. The hearings are scheduled, the witness lists are being negotiated. Layered on top, a separate Senate inquiry is now examining whether Elon Musk personally threatened a sitting OpenAI board member named Greg Brockman in connection with control of the AI safety mandate. 2 unrelated investigations, but they share one common feature. The administration is being asked to defend itself in public, on the record, while it is also conducting active military operations abroad. Concentration of attention is finite. Even an administration with the strongest staff in modern memory cannot fight a Strait of Hormuz war, a domestic snap cliff, a regulatory capture scandal in Silicon Valley, and an Epstein cabinet linkage all in the same news cycle. Something is going to give. The question is not if. The question is which. And in the background, the most expensive American city is being recast in real time. The newly elected mayor of New York has announced a 5% wealth tax on what his administration described as predominantly white, high-earning families. He has also signaled a further set of measures aimed at what he calls structural inequality. Whether you agree with the policy or not, the practical reality is that hedge fund managers, private equity partners, and senior bankers can move their offices to Connecticut, Florida, or Texas in roughly 7 days. Several already have. The capital of capitalism, as the rest of the world has known it for a century, is about to find out whether its tax base still wants to live there. That matters because New York City alone generates a meaningful slice of federal income tax receipts. If even 15% of the affected high-income filers relocate, the federal balance sheet absorbs the loss long before the city does. So the Hormuz War, the Snap Cliff, and the New York Exodus are not separate stories. They are the same story, told in 3 rooms. America is running multiple expensive crises in parallel without a fiscal cushion to absorb any one of them. Process. There is one more thread worth naming before we wrap. 6 weeks. That is how long the largest American trucking industry trade group says the country is from a serious freight squeeze if diesel prices climb the way oil futures are pricing them right now. Trucking moves about 70% of the freight tonnage that arrives at every supermarket, hospital, and big box retailer in the country. If diesel jumps another 15 to 20% on the back of a sustained Hormuz disruption, smaller fleets begin parking trucks because the math no longer works. Bigger fleets keep moving but pass the cost on. That cost lands as a higher sticker price on every shelf 2 to 3 weeks later in every city. So when policy people talk about retaliation in the Gulf, the cleanest way to translate it for an American household is this. A missile strike abroad is a price tag at home with a 6-week delivery window. Nobody on television is saying it that plainly, which is exactly why we are saying it here. Pull all of this together, and a single shape appears. Washington has chosen to escalate in the Gulf at exactly the moment its own grocery and energy supply chains are most exposed to a choke point disruption. It has chosen to fight a series of high-stakes domestic battles at exactly the moment its richest tax base is rehearsing a relocation. And it has chosen to stop pretending that the federal nutrition program can absorb a 14% cut without consequences for 42 million Americans who use it every month. The Pentagon doctrine is now, hit them harder than they hit us. The economic doctrine is, hope nothing breaks at the wrong time. Those 2 doctrines have not been tested simultaneously in living memory. They are about to be. And the public, the same public that fills cars at the pump and pays grocery bills every Saturday, is the place where that test will register first. Thank you for staying with me through this one. If this video gave you a clearer picture of how a single missile strike on an Iranian tanker connects to the price of bread in your own kitchen, please leave a comment with the one number from this video that surprised you the most. Hit the like button, subscribe so the next breakdown lands automatically. If you want to support the channel directly, the Super Thanks button and channel memberships are how this kind of journalism gets funded. I do not run advertising deals with any party, fund, or government. The time it takes to read the original Pentagon briefings, the original IMF figures, and the original New York City budget filings is paid for by you and by nobody else. Tell a friend, share the video, and I will see you in the next one.